Here's Brody Brazil.
Let's be very clear about this from the beginning. The Oakland A's and F1 have virtually nothing in common. I mean, sure, they're related through sports and entertainment, but this video is actually more about Las Vegas and Clark County and how they're handling something that wants to come to them. In this case, the Formula One Las Vegas Grand Prix, it takes place in just a couple weeks or months, November of 2023. And there's been so much buildup, so much drama, so much confusion, so much actual frustration about this event. People are already questioning whether it's worth it or not. By the way, the Grand Prix is signed on to do 10 straight years of racing on the Las Vegas Strip. So it's not just this year or next year, it's 10 straight years of this race, which, by the way, visually, I can't knock it. It is going to be beautiful. This course right on the Strip at night, through all the landmarks, they are going through so much work to make the impossible possible. And Formula One, by the way, they don't mess around. Like here in North America, I'm not sure most sports people even have a grasp on how much money and effort goes into F1. They are not going to do this cheap. They are not going to do this wrong. These renderings are probably exactly how it's going to look. Race cars going hundreds of miles an hour on that track, which is going to utilize the Strip, which, yes, is going to be a traffic and logistics nightmare for a couple days and even in the weeks preceding it. Yeah, that's going to be an inconvenience, but worth it to some people. However, all of this has come with some challenges, like some surprise expenses. So they had to fix up the roadway. They had to get the streets up to racing standards. And so that cost $80 million. Well, F1 just went ahead and started doing the work. They had to meet deadlines. They're already, by the way, on a time crunch, and they have been for a while, but nobody's questioning whether they'll make it or not. But they just started with the $80 million street upgrades. And then a couple months ago, back in June, they hit Clark County with a $40 million price tag and a bill to them. Clark County wasn't expecting this. They weren't aware of this. They knew it was going to cost somebody money. They just thought F1 was going to be absorbing this cost. Some people will say, hey, but for Clark County, investing $40 million to maybe get $400 million over a decade might be a good idea. And I'm not here to doubt that, but are they in a position, operating in functional debt, to just write a $40 million check? And so this came up at a Clark County meeting from Commissioner William McCurdy II. What gave you, F1, the comfort to go through this process and have us really be obligated to $40 million? Commissioner William McCurdy II asked the Las Vegas Grand Prix representatives, and the response was, there is no obligation. We're making a request today. Stephanie Allen, representing the LVGP, responded. So that's just a way that Clark County kind of got, I don't want to say tricked into this, but drawn into a $40 million price tag. Yes, they'll get the roadways upgraded. Yes, this is an investment over a decade, maybe even longer, but they weren't expecting this. And that's very clear from one of the commissioners. And then F1 went to all the businesses that had a view of the track, right? So if you want to come to the event, you have to buy a ticket through F1. You get in the grandstand, you get into the headquarters there. But what if you get a hotel room or you go to an establishment that has a view of the course? You're kind of cheating the system. Oh, but F1 is very aware of that. Liberty Media, which runs the F1 races in North America, Liberty Media and F1 have made a long-term investment to race in Las Vegas. Well, they shared that investment. We want the local community to benefit from our event, and we are confident that the race will bring tremendous economic value to Las Vegas as a whole. F1 commonly executes licensing agreements to protect its intellectual property rights. And the Las Vegas Grand Prix is following this same approach. In addition, these arrangements will allow the Las Vegas Grand Prix to ensure the fan experience in its partner venues meets the expectations for this event. Licensing rights are listed at $1,500 a person, according to a letter NYP says it received. This amount would be multiplied by the maximum occupancy of a venue allowed by its fire code. So, for example, a restaurant or a club or any establishment with a, let's say, 1,500 person capacity, it would be responsible for $2.25 million in fees. Now, I don't know what happens if they didn't pay the fee. Would there be a wall built so their venue wouldn't have a perspective of the race? I don't know. What I do know is that weeks after this, I believe this was in July, weeks after this, apparently the price went down to a $50,000 one-time fee. $1,500 a person to $50,000 total. But even then, $50,000 to these businesses to pay a licensing fee just because they have a view of the Strip and you're doing a race on the Strip? Again, this is what is an example of something that Las Vegas and the resort corridor in Clark County got trapped into. I'm just saying. Here's another part of it, the inconvenience. All summer long. And I'm not a person before, the A's ventures in Las Vegas. I didn't really pay attention to the day-to-day news of Southern Nevada. But now, obviously, I'm aware of it. And everybody has been complaining about traffic and road construction and the inconvenience of all of this happening on the Strip. Some of it, to be fair, is the one-time fix-up. The road construction, the asphalt work, tearing up the pavement, moving around some of the islands to, make it so that the race can happen, and the medians and the barriers, all of that stuff is a one-time thing. But look at the picture there on the top left. Look how the Bellagio fountains have been built on. I mean, we're here in late September. This race isn't even for another 2 months, and they're already doing this buildup. So if you came to Las Vegas hoping to see the fountains and you just wanted to do the typical tourist thing in November or even October, every year for the next 10 years, you're going to see that buildup right there. It's kind of an inconvenience. From the resident standpoint, from the worker standpoint, from the tourist standpoint. So I think people were a little bit aware that there would be some inconvenience, but man, not to this level and not to the year after year for a decade straight frequency. And this one really ticks me off. The manipulation. So on the left there is a picture of how the sidewalk used to look right next to the Bellagio fountains. Look at those trees, those beautiful mature trees. They were planted, I believe, already mature when Bellagio opened a couple decades ago. And obviously they've grown since, and they've been meticulously cared for and maintained, and they provide shade and beauty. And it just, in a strip full of lights and bells and whistles, this is kind of a nice break from it. And it always has been. Well, guess what? They need to put grandstands right there over that sidewalk. So all those trees, like dozens of them, and it's not just in front of Bellagio. There's other hotels. The picture on the top right is somewhere else. I can't remember at the moment, but palm trees, other trees, they're just cutting them down, literally by the dozens. And I'm not down there to do the exact count. More than 50, probably more than 100 mature trees just had to be chopped off, hacked off permanently for a 2-day race once a year because somebody's paying a lot of money. Yikes. That one just sucks and is stupid. I'm sorry. Okay. So we've talked about the inconvenience. We've talked about the manipulations. How about now, and even the unexpected costs? So the projections, right? You're going to make some money off this. What are you doing all of this for? Well, guess who's involved in bringing F1 to Las Vegas? Jeremy Aguero. You may recall his name, as well as the gentleman he's with there, Steve Hill, to his right, your left. on the photo there, they were the lobbyists for the A's during the Nevada legislative session. Jeremy Aguero brings everything to Las Vegas from a sporting perspective. And the article I'm about to sift through here is literally on the F1 website, working directly with them. He's the principal analyst of Applied Analysis. They're the company that works with entities to bring them to Las Vegas. So his title here is A Positive Outlook, F1 Races and Community Benefits. Jeremy says right away, and this is so defensive from the beginning, we tend to focus on issues like the cost and inconvenience of repaving Las Vegas Boulevard. Yeah. Raise concerns about incremental demand on first responders within the resort corridor, or juxtapose events like the Las Vegas Grand Prix with social challenges like homelessness, food insecurity, or human trafficking. I respectfully submit that we are better served to acknowledge and leverage the exponential economic and fiscal returns generated by infrastructure investments. That's number one, asking you to ignore the inconvenience. And number two, prioritize making money over maybe helping people out, maybe doing some of the right things. It's a weird way to start off your selling points, but it goes on. And, he's all about numbers, and I'm sure this was all for the record. Conservative estimates place F1-related tax receipts at nearly $83 million, including an incremental $38 million in live entertainment taxes, $23 million in hotel room taxes, and $17 million in sales taxes. Look, I'm not here to give you all the numbers or tell you that I know the inside track on this. I don't. This is what Jeremy does, but he can't know all of it until we actually start to see how this plays out. What are the trends? What is the way that F1 makes money, and how does it kind of trickle back to the community and the county, and will they get their $40 million back? All of that remains to be seen. My point is, as much as I can't tell you if this is right or wrong, Jeremy can't really either. He's ballparking it, literally. But this is the way he's put it. All I can tell you is that there were very high ambitions for hotels and properties to bring in guests for that November 16th through the 19th time period of 2023. Back in November of last year, when all of this was announced, right, there was huge hype. There was great demand. I think at one point, the Rio Hotel, which is, way off the strip, their hotel rates for that weekend went up like 700%. Clearly, they settled down. But here are the way rates looked for these dates. November of 2022, the Link, $26.94. Paris Hotel, $34.97. Planet Hollywood, $43.36. And if you wanted to stay at Caesars Palace, and I believe this is the hotel rates, all the resort fees, $53.23. Wow, for 4 days. 4 days, nights, however you want to put it. Look at the price changes since then. In less than a year. In the 10 months since then, the Link is down 48% for hotel rates. By the way, if you booked in November of 22, I hope you're getting a refund. Like a lot of money back. Paris down 47%. Planet Hollywood down almost 60%. And Caesars Palace for those dates has cut their rates by 36%. What does that tell you about the expectations versus the demand versus the reality? That does not spell out something good. So again, this video about F1, not really about the Oakland A's and their potential relocation, but mostly about how Las Vegas and Clark County gets into these things and the resorts get into these things, and they kind of lose control over them, or they went into it so quickly. It's an example of a process that's being rushed, a project that came to them. They jumped on the opportunity. They weren't really aware of all the details, and now they're kind of figuring them out the hard way. So I said F1 and the A's not related. Maybe in this way, there is a connection. Thumbs up on this video since you made it here all the way to the end. And don't forget, subscribe to the channel so I can definitely see you back here next time.